What's up, guys? Here with you at FC Wonderkid, episode 133. Here with my guy, Breton. How are you?
Oh my goodness, I am doing pretty dang well considering Thanksgiving was this past week, Alex. And I think we're going to talk about, UCL. We're going to talk about the U17 World Cup. We're going to talk about the Premier League. But if there's one thing off the top of my head that I am thankful for, it is that Alejandro Garnacho golazo. I honestly, that had Wayne Rooney and Cristiano Ronaldo written all over it, and there was nothing sexier to start or to end, I should say, a Thanksgiving weekend here in the States. But, I mean, come on. How good was that goal?
Alejandro Garnacho has officially entered the Puskás category with that goal. One of the most beautiful overhead kicks I've seen in my life, inspired by Cristiano Ronaldo, and you said Wayne Rooney, that scored against Man City, that was a bold occasion. But Alejandro Garnacho is just a wonder kid, and Man United needed someone inspiring in attack, and he did just that. But Man United, this is we're starting with Man United. We're gonna talk more ahead in this podcast, but you said it. UCL predictions, under 17 Wonder Kids we're going to be mentioning in this podcast, and obviously Francesco Camarda is going to be involved in this podcast too. But yes, Premier League top 4. We have a new team in the top of the league right now. It's Arsenal with Arteta. Arteta, that with Arsenal, has 200 games, and he has 116 wins. Arsene Wenger, to give a comparison to people, he had 111 wins. So Arteta is number 1 ever in wins in his first 200 games for Arsenal, rebuilding a team that was struggling to even be fighting for top 4. So Arsenal rebuild is happening, people.
And I think the most important thing to take away from that game was they were not very good.
True.
And they still won. And that's exactly what you needed. Again, and I feel like it's deja vu saying it at this exact time last year. They were winning games that they really, weren't playing well when it comes down to it. And we're in that period, we're in that stage all over again. And once again, they're starting to get goals from other parts of their team. I cannot believe, Alex, that was Kai Havertz's first open play goal for Arsenal so far. I mean, that's just unbelievable to think that. I know he's
the first of many, right, Breton?
I don't know. He looked shocked. He looked absolutely shocked or relieved.
But the team was happy.
You tell me what emotion.
Look, the thing that I loved about that goal, I know Kai Havertz came clutch, uninspired. No, Kai Havertz came clutch, a hero that not a lot of people were expecting. I certainly wasn't, but it's good to see that the team celebrated that goal. The unity of the group is something I gotta say. Phenomenal job by Arteta. The culture is starting to be noticeable, in which they are fighting for the Premier League title. For me, Man City are the contenders and the favorites, but this Arsenal team, with the resources they have, they're doing an amazing job with Miguel Arteta, in my view. And an assist from Saka in that Kai Havertz goal. Yeah. Very inspiring, very inspiring. But I gotta say, you said it very well. Arsenal won that game, but they didn't convince in that game. They didn't deserve 100% to win. I agree with that. Arsenal have a problem with their striker and fullbacks. But more on striker. Arsenal need to sign a killer instinct striker ahead of goal, okay? They don't have it with Gabriel Jesus. And right now, Arsenal should break the bank for Victor Osimhen, in my view. Why? Tell me when Arsenal had such a good collective of talent in the last 5 years with players like Odegaard, Saka, Saliba. That is real talent. Declan Rice even, that cost a lot. But this is a collective of talent that has the opportunity to make history in the Premier League. Bring Victor Osimhen, because look at Man City when they brought this striker. They were complete. I honestly believe Arsenal with new fullbacks and Arsenal with a new striker like Victor Osimhen, or even a bold suggestion, maybe Santiago Gimenez, they'll be closer to winning a Premier League title. Without them, they won't win it. Without this new striker, Arsenal won't win the Premier League, Breton.
And it is a massive, massive choice that they're going to have to make on who, to allocate their assets to, because Victor Osimhen will break the bank. But I am 100% in agreement with you. It is Premier League or bust in this moment, right? You want this title. You don't know how long you're going to have this collection of talent for. And you said it best. I think they do need to spend most on that. And if they can find, or maybe they find a gem in the academy when it comes down to it, give a little more depth at fullback or in the midfield, that would be wonderful. But striker is the biggest issue, and you saw it in this particular game with Gabby Jesus and with Nketiah just missing. I feel like they're sometimes it's as simple as like their eyes are not scanning the field, right? It's as simple as that, right? And Brentford are a tough team to play against. I understand that, but Arsenal, man, they should have put this away.
I think
and it dies at the front. It really does.
No, and I completely agree with what you're saying. And Eddie Nketiah is a good Premier League striker. He's just not good to be the main man. Okay, he's not a striker that's going to score 25 Premier League goals like a Darwin, like a Haaland, like Kane that's now at Bayern Munich. They need a Victor Osimhen. Maybe a Santiago Gimenez could become that. Maybe Rasmus Winter-Højlund will become that, even though he's got a bad start at Man United. But they need to find someone else. Even Benjamin Sesko, we've seen a lot of news. So, and again, once again saying, I'm not hating on Eddie Nketiah, Gabriel Jesus. You need a good collection of talent in order to win a Premier League. Okay, you need to have worthy substitutes. So, just saying everything on my end with Arsenal is, I think Arsenal beating Brentford solidified the argument of being a top 3 team in the Premier League. If I'm going to do my Premier League prediction once again, I put Man City, Arsenal, and Liverpool top 3, no doubt in my mind. And Arsenal need to get a striker in order for me or other people to 100% convince them to be a Premier League title winning team.
Okay. Well, I'm not changing my front here. I think I had Manchester City, I had Liverpool, and then Arsenal, and I still am sticking to that. So it's going to be. It really does come down to this. It really does come down to this winter transfer window, and I also think that there is a decision to make. You mentioned that everybody was running over, very happy for Kai Havertz, right? Well, everyone was running over at the end of the match to basically congratulate Aaron Ramsdale on the clean sheet, and it just felt like there was a twinge of goodbye in some respect, right? If there's one decision that needs to be made for Aaron Ramsdale's best interest, it is going to be whether or not to leave Arsenal, because it's pretty clear Raya is the number 1, but Ramsdale has to, if he wants any part in the Euros, if he wants to play any part in the Euros, or somehow usurp the current number 1, right, of England in Southgate's eyes, he is going to have to likely leave Arsenal. And it really did feel like that, the way that they were all congratulating him, because he didn't have that great of a game, but the way that they were congratulating him made me feel as if Aaron Ramsdale is exiting Arsenal.
Clean sheet's a clean sheet, though. So. Clean sheet's a clean sheet. And Arsenal, by beating Brentford, Arsenal, by beating Brentford, they're unbeaten in 17 of their last games against Premier League London teams. Okay, they're unbeaten, and as it seems, Arsenal is red right now. Okay, just saying. And the Premier League was so excited. Premier League was so exciting this weekend. We saw Newcastle dismantling Chelsea. We saw a blockbuster game by Tottenham and Aston Villa, and we saw the Titans of Man City and Liverpool drawing. What I gotta say on this is, I've got bold opinions, okay? And let us know your bold opinions too in the comments section. But I'm going to keep it short by saying my first opinion on this is Jeremy Doku, no doubt in my mind, has the potential to be one of the best dribblers ever in Premier League history. 11 dribbles completed against Liverpool, the record in one game this season. And it's going to be Doku and Eden Hazard in the end when the Premier League in the best dribblers talk, and they're both Belgium. Elite. Yeah. I wanted to say that.
It is. He's unmarkable at times. And he had several runs in that match versus Liverpool, but I'm going to say it. As good as Jeremy Doku was, if Allison didn't have, I'd say, a middle of the table game, middle of the table match for Liverpool, Liverpool should have gotten more from that. It was his poor distribution that I believe led to Manchester City's goal, which is kind of weird to say. But if it also weren't for Trent Alexander-Arnold, quick fire shot, I mean, those are the things you like to see from the kid. Liverpool, I think, is going to grow into this season. I think they're going to get better and better and better as long as this injury bug does not come bite them as hard as it has bit Newcastle, as hard as it has bit Manchester United, as hard as it has bit other clubs in the Premier League right now. But Liverpool, that game was just a lot of fun for the most part to watch. And
I like how you're saying things. I like how you're saying things, Bretson, because you're clearly stating that Liverpool is a much better team than they were last season, and that is fucked.
Sure.
Why is Liverpool much better than they were last season? Progressive passes. And the midfield is finally solved with a Dominic Szoboszlai leading the way. I just want to give a quick stat on that. Liverpool against Man City with progressive passes and carries, the top players were Dominic Szoboszlai with 9. We have Salah with 7. We have Darwin Núñez with 6, and we have Trent Alexander-Arnold and Ryan Gravenberch just signed both with 5, okay? So this is a new team that needed Szoboszlai and needed a Gravenberch. Curtis Jones doesn't do enough in terms of progressive play, as we see from these stats. It was much needed. And Darwin Núñez, people. Second season, Darwin Núñez is a real thing right now, okay? Because for club and country right now, Darwin Núñez has 10 games, 8 goals. And if you see last season's stats, he's only 2 goal involvements from matching his last season stats. And we're in November. Full.
And apparently he's living rent-free in Pep Guardiola's head. As well, as we saw at the end of that match. But yeah, I think this Liverpool team with these signings are going to continue, as I mentioned previously, to grow into this. And I don't know. I'm excited for the back half of the season.
10 goals, 8 assists. Sorry.
Obviously,
10 goals, 8 assists, Darwin. Sorry.
10 goals, 8 assists. There you go. There you go. But when we're looking at Liverpool moving forward, they haven't played a lot of the top 6, if at all. I don't know for sure, but they have not played a lot of the top 6 at Anfield just yet. So they're really, I think, going to rev up a home campaign. They're going to have to make Anfield a fortress, as it already has, against kind of lower quality moving forward if they want to actually mount a title contention. And I think that they are very much a title contender heading into the back half of this year.
I think so too, being top 3 Liverpool. And one of the best decisions, Klopp has made an elite decision by choosing Virgil van Dijk being the captain and Trent Alexander being the vice captain of that team. It makes total sense. Look at the longevity they have at the club and the talent and the passion they have towards Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp. And no joke, Trent Alexander-Arnold will be remembered as one of the best right-backs in football when he retires one day. Look how young he won a Champions League for Liverpool. He's boyhood, scouse! Trent Alexander-Arnold. And if you see that goal, that absolute golazo, you will understand what I'm saying. And no joke again, Trent Alexander-Arnold on ball already is one of the best fullbacks I've ever seen in the Premier League. On ball and off ball, no doubt you can see the improvement he's had throughout the years. Defensively, I know Doku had many moments that he was ahead of Trent Alexander-Arnold. But who can defend Doku, honestly, okay? But he scored the necessary goal, and that 1-1 goal was needed. And the celebration elite, too. Rumor says that he's locked a big deal with Adidas. Those boots were elite.
I have a family member that works for Under Armour. And they're going to be pretty angry to leave him or to lose him, I'm sure, because he is Under Armour. But it is a very bold statement to say that he is going to be one of the best right backs of all time in the Premier League, right? And I'm not here to throw any water on that, but he is still so young. 24, hasn't even turned 25 yet, if I'm not mistaken, right? And so I am really. It was a wonderful moment to see. I feel like Liverpool probably could have had more, and if we can get Darwin actually scoring a whole lot more for Liverpool, or at least putting those big chances away, they're going to be incredibly dangerous. But I'm excited for the return leg here.
And a reminder is Man City's playing without Kevin De Bruyne. Huge absence, and they're trusting the youth with Phil Foden, Jeremy Doku, and Julian Alvarez. It's absurd to me that I see people criticizing Julian Alvarez right now. He won the World Cup and was crucial to win it. He won the Champions League. He won the Premier League. He won the FA Cup. All these competitions, he had a key role. And no doubt in my mind, this is one of the best under-23 players in the world with Julian Alvarez. To replace Kevin De Bruyne and still be top of the league next to Arsenal. Come on, that's a huge statement. Don't hate on a player adapting to a new league and still succeeding with Julian Alvarez. Come on, people.
And I would extend that favor, right? If we're going to say don't hate on Julian Alvarez, I would extend that favor to Alexis McAllister, please. I get that there is that whole World Cup, they won it with Argentina, kind of tax, you could almost call it, or maybe an overestimation. But you have to remember that at their core, less so Alexis McAllister, because he has been here. He was there with Brighton, but a whole different system under Klopp. That they are adjusting to these new systems and moving forward. And Julian Alvarez is just getting started. And I would throw in there, so is Alexis McAllister. And that's just this like vestigial weirdness that comes from that World Cup being only a year ago at this time, Alex. We were in the throes of it a year ago.
And the Euros are coming.
Tell you what,
6 months, mate.
And the Euros
just
are coming.
give 6 months. We're back to the stage, mate. And the thing here too with Man City is Erling Haaland. No Kevin De Bruyne, but Erling Haaland had to perform. Erling Haaland became the fastest player ever to score 50 goals in the Premier League. Yep. We had seen that in the Bundesliga, okay, at a younger age. And obviously, too, the mad stat that he was the youngest to ever to score 30 goals in the Champions League. He's the best goal scorer in the world next to Harry Kane, Erling Haaland. But now's the time. Back-to-back trebles will solidify him winning the Ballon d'Or. Let's wait and see if that can happen. But Kevin De Bruyne coming back is definitely a huge W when that happens. But Jeremy Doku, I reiterate, he's already, Jeremy Doku is already a top 3 player in the Belgium national team, in my opinion. It's mad. Johan Bakayoko, Jeremy Doku, Romelu Lukaku, Dominic Tedesco, they can make something happen in the Euros. Don't sleep on them. Young Wonderkid manager.
The prospect of Bakayoko and Doku on either wing moving forward for many years to come, for probably a decade, right? Assuming they both stay healthy. That's pretty scary. That is pretty scary. I don't know if it's going to be too soon for them to reimagine themselves as maybe a dark horse for the Euros next summer.
I think they are, Breton. I really think they are.
Well, that
I put
wing,
Belgium ahead of Spain.
Yeah, I mean, those are two of the best flank players, or I should say highest potential flank players heading into these Euros. And they're going to be, at the very least, Alex, you and I are going to want to catch every minute of every Belgium game if both of those two players are on the pitch together, right?
Hopefully.
And just a crazy stat before we move on for Manchester City. You know how we were doing this whole calendar year, goals scored, everything like that? I was like, what about the playmakers? What about the assists? Okay. Kevin De Bruyne has played probably, 15 to 20 less fixtures club-wise than any other playmaker out there in, say, the top 10 Euro leagues, okay? And Kevin De Bruyne is still within maybe 1 or 2 assists. He has 17 assists over this past calendar year, and he has missed almost half the time that some of these other players like Joey Veerman, like Vinicius Jr., has not missed. So the fact of the matter is if Kevin De Bruyne comes back, we know what it meant last year. We know what it will mean this year when he starts getting revved up again. So for those that have forgotten he's on the roster just because he's been injured a long time, that is exactly why Manchester City still remains favorites moving forward. But crazy.
That's absolutely mad about that Kevin De Bruyne stat, mate. Just shows the talent that he has. And for me, Kevin De Bruyne is a player that is in the all-time Premier League team starting in my books. Yeah. Okay, so that's a bold statement for some when you have Paul Scholes, Gerrard, and Lampard in the past. But let us know down below your thoughts on Man City. But we're talking top 4 with this, and we had a big match. 4-1. Newcastle showed who was the boss in St. James Park against Chelsea, okay? And what I got to say is Newcastle, 5th straight win, and it's the collective of talent, okay? The 5th straight win of Newcastle, and it's the collection of talent that is the biggest highlight with Eddie Howe. Despite a lot of injuries, players like Dan Burn and Botman, which are crucial for this team, we saw a team that still managed to succeed and dismantle Chelsea. Well organized. Eddie Howe is starting to be shown as one of the most underrated managers maybe in the world of football. And my special shout right now is Anthony Gordon must be selected by Southgate. £45 million. We were wrong. It's a bargain. What a deal by Newcastle. The player that was nominated the best player in the Under-21 European Championship last summer. And he is now balling out for Newcastle. 5 goals, 3 assists this season, Anthony Gordon, and it's just fantastic to see.
Well, mentioning Anthony Gordon, I think we'd be remiss not to mention the true star of the midfield. Beyond Chelsea's high-powered and very expensive midfield, there was a 17-year-old that was running St. James Park, and that was Lewis Millie. 17 years old, I already mentioned that, but because I mentioned that again, it's because he winds up in the record books. He's 5th or 6th youngest to register an assist in only his 2nd Premier League start. And the fact that he's been doing this with Enzo on the other side of the field, with Caicedo on the other side of the field, with Thiago Silva making mistakes, more mistakes this year than we've seen him make in any other year, it kind of baffles me that Newcastle, missing all of the players that they're missing, are getting what they need at home, at St. James Park, and managing to beat Chelsea by a higher margin than they have in 30-plus years. It baffles me to no end that Chelsea fans, that Pochettino, that really anybody can watch that and say that there doesn't need to be, once again, drastic shakeups of the 11. I mean, 4-1 with 13 players missing on Newcastle. That's insane.
Is
it not?
It's something that with Chelsea, we need to make a judgment, serious judgment, at second half of the Premier League season. I think if Pochettino doesn't manage to improve how things are in terms of group, there must be big question marks already with Pochettino, in my view. But you mentioned it. Lewis Millie at 17, unreal game. But Alexander Isak was back from injury, and he was vital with that goal that Lewis Millie had a big hand in it. 7 Premier League goals Alexander Isak has right now, and he has equaled Zlatan Ibrahimovic in the top goal scorers ever in Premier League history. Swedish top goal scorers ever in Premier League history. Look
at that.
And Anthony Gordon has 93 games in the Premier League at 22. 13 goals scored, and I'm absolutely certain he's going to be with more than 10 Premier League goals scored at the end of this season. I am confident about that, but he's got 5 goals right now. I believe he can get to the 12-goal mark with the form that he's in. I believe in that.
Well, just to explain to people the missing depth in Newcastle's lineup, Eddie Howe named 3 goalkeepers, okay? And when the game was game set match, when it was 4-1, he was able to hand 3 Newcastle debuts to academy players or players that recently got to the academy. So 19-year-old striker Michael Duaney, 20-year-old winger Amadou Diallo, and the one that I'm pretty high on is their defender, Irish defender, 19-year-old Alex Murphy. And all 3 of them were able to actually take the pitch against Chelsea as if it was them beating Luton Town at St. James Park. I'm just at a loss for words once again, considering how they played well, and then they come in and nothing is set in yet. The ethos has not changed. These players are not fully together. It is, 1 step forward, 3 steps back in this scenario, is it not, for them? But kudos to Newcastle for exploiting it and for, getting it done, because they needed that. And back in the win column they go.
And Newcastle, with this victory, is their first straight win at home, and now they're entered the top 4 race. That Tottenham has lost a vital game with Aston Villa at home. Tottenham were unbeaten their first 10 games in the Premier League, but their last 3, they lost their last 3 games. It's looking very worrying when you don't have Mickey van de Ven and James Maddison. What a game it was, though, by Ollie Watkins. Ollie Watkins has 7 goals, 5 assists, and he's 100% an English national team striker. Not starting because of Harry Kane, but deserves to be the number 2 right now, ahead of Ivan Toney and Callum Wilson, in my eyes. Ollie Watkins. And the start of the night is Unai Emery. The comeback against Tottenham happens because of Unai Emery. And what an unreal substitute that it was to take Moussa Diaby and put a player like Thielema. Elite tactician Unai Emery. That Unai Emery, it's absolutely mad that Unai Emery, 38 Premier League games he's had at Aston Villa, he's had 77 points scored. And that's unreal. Unreal.
Well,
the impact he's had.
It's also the most wins in one calendar year, most Premier League wins in one calendar year that Unai Emery has architected at Aston Villa with 22 in their history, in their club's history. So it's not too shabby there. And I think players are starting to see that this is a heck of a culture to come into, heck of a tactic to work your way into, because they are only behind Manchester City by 2 goals scored this season. They've scored 31 goals. And a lot of it is because of their counterattacking, very counterattacking heavy play, which obviously is very different than the possession-based Manchester City way of offense, but they're getting it from absolutely everywhere. Ollie Watkins, you already mentioned, 7 goals, 5 assists as well. You've got Diaby, you've got a lot of guys coming in that are capable of making magic. You've got Douglas Luiz chipping in with 5 or 6 goals this season. I mean, it is very, very impressive the way that they're getting it from everywhere on the pitch, and that was just a massive win to go into Spurs. But in Spurs' defense, Son did have a hat trick of offside goals. He did have a hat trick of offside goals.
That's so unlucky for Ange Postecoglou.
Game of inches.
Spurs. Unreal. It's true, and if the Wenger rule changes, some of them could have been a goal. That's a fact.
Yeah.
And you mentioned it. The midfield of Aston Villa was unreal against Tottenham. Douglas Luiz has 7 goal involvements in the Premier League this season. Muggin, what is such an engine? And Boubacar Kamara was everywhere. Everywhere. Unai Emery has improved massively. A lot of these players, and right now, I would be surprised if Aston Villa doesn't finish in the top 7. I would be surprised. So this means Chelsea, Man United, Tottenham, Brighton, Newcastle, teams will be fighting until the end. And that's what makes the Premier League so good to watch. And Pau Torres, what a signing he was too. Vital goal. Vital goal.
Yeah, wonderful header. Just amazing. Curled away from the goalkeeper. You weren't saving that. You weren't saving that.
And what I got to say, too, is this Tottenham game against Aston Villa showed us clearly that Tottenham don't have a title-winning team on paper and playing on the pitch, too. Without Maddison, without Mickey van de Ven, they clearly showed a lot of problems. And going forward, Lo Celso scored his first goal, but they still need better players. They need more options in order to be fighting, not just with Man City, but with Arsenal and Liverpool, that I consider much better teams on paper than Tottenham right now. But Ange Postecoglou just started, literally, and things are better, I think.
Yeah, things are definitely still better. I mean, they had their chances in this game. They definitely had their chances. It was a game of inches. You're talking about toes that were offsides. But they had multiple instances where they cut Villa wide open and they had him exposed, and it was just putting the ball away that was a little bit of an issue. I mean, Kulusevski, I love him as a player, but he is the king of getting so dang close to putting the ball in the back of the net and just not doing it. He's the king of getting 95% of the way there,
Andy
but
Carroll,
not finishing the other 5%. Yeah, well, I just think I'm not going to. Yes, it stinks to use a very special word, but yes, it stinks to see Spurs very small chances at winning a title go down even further and basically get wiped away to next to nil. But I would not fire the alarm bells or whatever, fire the shot across the bow. They still play very good football, and they still create chances, and I think they will be fine once they get through this mess. And if they get through this mess, because Rodrigo Bentancur might be out for a little while because he went out injured, so they might be heaping more. It might just be tough moving forward. But I think they'll be okay in the end, and they will fight for a Champions League spot. And the fact that the Premier League might get 5 Champions League spots this season helps a whole lot.
If there's the winner in the Champions League, it's true. The Man
That's
City,
right.
we're going to be mentioning for the predictions of this next game week of, yes, Man City obviously being favorites to win against RB Leipzig. But before we go to Champions League, I think we should be mentioning here, we're halfway the episode, and La Liga has been very interesting as it seems too, with right now, Barcelona dropped points. Unexpected, but I wanted to give, if we're going to talk La Liga from the start, I wanted to say this, that 100%, the 2 best players in La Liga, it's Jude Bellingham and it's Antoine Griezmann. What an elite season Griezmann has been having with Atletico, which this season he will become the all-time goal scorer of Atletico. He's 3 goals away. And even a player like Koke, 600 goals. Games played for Atletico. This is a legend. And without Koke, the team is very different. So big shout out to Koke and Griezmann that balled out against Mallorca, that it was a 1-0 win, but it was a needed win. And they got just that.
It was. Well, I think when we're talking about Barcelona and their dropped points, I didn't know. Although Gavi very clearly has been the engine this season. It's crazy to say this about a teenager. I didn't think they'd miss him that much that quick. But they barely scraped out a point against Rayo Vallecano. And even Xavi is starting to drop the facade of always pepping him up, right? Of always motivating, of always whatever. He is basically saying we are not playing well. And we need to get back to it. And he can't be more right. But as of right now, they're still within the top. It's just it comes down to the fact that you need you need them to be playing well in the Champions League. And I don't know right now. Real Madrid is definitely the favorite in my eyes. I
agree with you. And that can happen when Real Madrid has an injury list bigger than anyone in the world, as it seems. Maybe Newcastle, because we hinted big time Newcastle. But the list, Real Madrid's injury list, should make Barcelona mandatory contenders to win La Liga. If we see it, it has Vini, it has Courtois, it has Camavinga, it has Tchouaméni, it has Eder Militão, Rodrigo, and even has Jude Bellingham playing on painkillers, to be top in La Liga against Girona. This cannot happen. And I know Xavi, when he starts at Barcelona, they're much better financially now. They developed many youngsters. He's won 2 trophies, but still, his most expensive signing was Rafinha. There was a choice to get a winger, and that winger isn't putting in the big performances. There's a lack of wingers right now at Barca, and there's a lack of striker when Lewandowski isn't performing well. Vitor Roque is very, very needed. Very needed. Yeah. And Xavi must be worried because Barca is one of the toughest jobs ever. One of the toughest jobs in the world is to be the Barca manager. And Xavi is in the hot spot right now because they're not playing inspiring football. They show a lot of lack of passion. And now without Gavi and without wingers, I want to see if they're scoring goals because João Felix isn't performing well. He must do better, especially without Gavi. It can't be the case what they're doing now.
And to twist the knife a little more, it must have been tough for Xavi to see that Ousmane Dembele goal scored for PSG over the weekend because, if he could do that every week, Ousmane Dembele would still be considered one of the best wingers on the planet. He is capable of entertaining the hell out of you when he wants to or when he's healthy. And it is baffling to see that was Ousmane Dembele's first PSG goal. But it was beautiful. But Xavi's probably kind of crying in his whatever you eat whatever you eat for breakfast in Spain. He's probably crying in it because that is exactly what he wants right now on his wings.
And we see more news hinting that Imanol Alguacil to go to Barca. If you don't know, he's one of the best managers in La Liga and the manager of Real Sociedad. If that were to convince a player like Zubimendi going to Barca too, that Xavi is a big admirer, but by no means I'm saying that Xavi is in the risk to lose his job right now. I do believe they're still in the Champions League and they're top 3 fighting in La Liga. He will have to have a very bad season in La Liga this season in order to be sacked. But I don't think that will be the case. I really don't.
And I want Real Sociedad to get back in the mix here. I want them to get back in the mix. They're playing pretty dang well. The top of the Champions League group that they're in, and they're making their way up La Liga's table after a rocky start. So I just love that project. There.
I think Real Madrid.
Hopefully it continues.
I think Real Madrid. I see a lot of news. Marca and Aj. I've been reading. I'm trying to get my Spanish better. Okay, I'm trying to get it on. And I see a lot of the Spanish media saying that Real Madrid are now financially very strong. Now that they're earning 250 million euros to 300 with the stadium having multi-functions, with concerts, with NFL games, with basketball games. They're making a lot of profit from that. And if they can get an Mbappe next season, things will be different for Barca. So Barca have to anticipate what's happening, and they got to get better players, especially at winger. Like, we're going to mention.
Look at that. They did it without selling their soul to Spotify. Just kidding. That was mean. That was rude. I'm kidding. It's just a little tongue-in-cheek
I want to see Camp Nou, though, Breton. I believe Camp Nou will be buzzing when it's back. I bet Bernabeu, beautiful. I'm so excited to go see Jude Bellingham one day. That's one day. Or go to Girona.
Porto's going to. Oh, right. Camp Nou. Go to Girona. Yeah. I mean, that stadium's tiny. So, Girona is still up there. Still kicking. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Some tweets that on X, some X quotes that are stating that Barca with Xavi are slowly turning to Man United. Are you mad? Did you see how financially bad they were with Laporta without Xavi? It's absolutely mad. The unreal job he's done to win a La Liga with the players he had in the Champions League. It was injuries, but now he's got no excuse this season in the Champions League, Xavi. I want to see a Barca team minimal go to the quarterfinals if they don't face a team like Bayern Munich or Man City beforehand. They must go at least to the quarter. It must happen, people. But let us know your thoughts down below about that, because
and a nice little segue there, because it's Porto heading to Barcelona next, and they've got to be feeling like they might be vulnerable, and they actually have a chance to win their group. So I think probably, what do you think? UCL quickfire predictions?
Yes,
right now?
UCL quickfire predictions. But let us know down below in the comments section your thoughts and predictions. And don't forget to like this video for more predictions just like this. Group A, Galatasaray against Man United. Bayern Munich against Copenhagen. I believe Galatasaray won't lose. I'll even go bold and say Icardi scoring and Galatasaray winning, and Bayern Munich securing a win with Harry Kane scoring a goal. Those are my predictions.
I like it. I think, I think Harry Kane is going to likely be Golden Boot leader by the end of this game versus Copenhagen. No offense to Copenhagen, because they played very well. Got a historic win against Manchester United. And I think Galatasaray, I mean, it's elimination time. So Manchester United is currently beating the heck out of Everton over the weekend. My guess is Galatasaray is going to end that party a little bit early. And they're going to be fighting for Europa League, because Mauro Icardi, Dries Mertens, and Wilfried Zaha were on point against Al-Nassr over the weekend after a brief little losing session for Galatasaray. So I'm going to say, Bayern Munich, Galatasaray go through in Group A.
Bayern Munich and Galatasaray is not looking good, with Rashford having a better game, and yes, Garnacho scoring an elite bicycle kick. Group B now with Sevilla against PSV and Arsenal against Lens. I believe PSV will not be losing against Sevilla, with Johan Bakayoko and Joey Veerman having a masterclass, and I believe Arsenal will secure a win against Lens and once again show that they are in the Champions League, meaning serious business.
Yep, and we've forgotten to say, let's see, Johan Bakayoko Johan Bakayoko, Malik Tillman, Serginho Dest. All of these players are also on point, even if Luc de Jong and the Joey Veerman and Gus Till aren't scoring goals. PSV heat check. They've won 13 in a row in the Eredivisie, and they are going to continue that form in Group B. I think they're going to at least get a draw or a win in Sevilla, and I think Arsenal is going to take care of Lens at the Emirates, so I think it's going to be Arsenal PSV moving forward. And I just got to ask you, did you see the whole Serginho Dest craziness with the U.S. men's national team?
Disrespectful that a player with his experience at Barca and at AC Milan does a poor action like that. I sure expect better from Serginho Dest coming forward, because there's no excuse after an incident like that. You only can do once in the lifetime, something like that.
Exactly. And for a young player, I don't think I've ever seen that. The closest that I have ever seen to that was Balotelli in a friendly in the States with that ridiculous like back heel goal point blank that missed completely, and then he got subbed off right away. That type of disrespect in a Copa America qualifier and the CONCACAF Nations League, it shocked me. And I only hope it's one of those things where it was so out of pocket, so out of character of Dest, that, you know, after he has many sessions talking to Tim Ream, Greg Berhalter, Christian Pulisic, and he, you know, kind of says, I'm sorry, and keeps saying sorry, that he gets back into it and plays well. But PSV had him right in the lineup, and he's right back in form. So we'll see what happens. But I think PSV's getting through.
I just think Serginho has to face his problems and say it to the group in the locker room. That was my bad, and move from then and have the right training sessions. He's got to prove in the trainings, not with what he says. No. Like, actions need to speak louder than his words. No doubt Serginho can't do anything close to what he did that game. But now, tell us down below your A and B predictions, because it hasn't been easy, okay? Group C now, we have Real Madrid, Napoli, and Braga against Union Berlin. I think Real Madrid will be beating Napoli, and I think Braga will be securing their third spots going through in the Europa League. That I love to see it. And Union Berlin have a new manager. That is good to see too. That it might change things, but Braga still's going to win it.
Well, Union Berlin wanted Raul. They wanted Raul to come in and wanted to hand him the reins, and he said, nope, I'm going to stay at Real Madrid, and I don't blame him because they're coming off of a 12-game losing streak, and on top of that, I think in the last 3, they've actually gotten a little bit better. They've drawn twice, and they've got another loss. So Union Berlin is still in the running to somehow get into the Europa League, but I think Braga, you're right, is going to give their home fans a win at home and beat them, and I think they'll go to Europa League, and it'll be Real Madrid first, Napoli second, but it is nice to see Victor Osimhen back, healthy, and playing, and they beat Atalanta, and we'll see if they can maybe upset the apple cart against Real Madrid a little bit.
It's going to be a difficult one in Group C, as it seems to. Group D now, with Benfica against Inter, and then we have Real Sociedad against Red Bull Salzburg. Benfica-Inter will be a display of one of the best Wonderkids right now in football. João Neves and Trubin in goal. He's playing quite well. But João Neves more against the Inter elite defense, okay? No doubt Inter has one of the best defenses in the world, but I believe Benfica will be securing at least 1 point at home with a masterclass of Trubin, Antonio Silva, and João Neves. Trust the youth, and Real Sociedad will be beating Red Bull Salzburg. That Real Sociedad has one of the best midfields in the world with Brais Mendes, Zubimendi, and Mikel Merino. Don't sleep on them.
Yeah.
Don't sleep.
No, don't. So, I'll start with that. Real Sociedad will beat Salzburg at home. I'm going to say that. I don't think this Salzburg is as convincing as Salzburg's of the past. So I'm going to say something that's going to be a little bit controversial, because you said draw. I think Benfica has the chance to beat Inter at the Estadio da Luz. And how nice would that be for them to secure at least the Europa League moving forward with these 2 games left? I just think Benfica has not shown their best self yet, and what a day would it be midweek if they decided to do it against one of the best teams in the world right now in terms of form, right? So Benfica, I'm going to say, is going to beat Inter Milan midweek, and they are going to be well on their way to at least getting that 3rd place over Salzburg, and I'm going to say Real Sociedad eventually wins this group.
Wow, bold statements right here, and check João Neves in that game. I love what I'm hearing from Breton right here, okay? And let us know if you agree with the bold statement that Breton just said, because I even have goosebumps, mate. I even have goosebumps after what I heard from you just now.
Yeah.
But this is the difficult Group 2. Group E with Feyenoord against Atletico and Lazio against Celtic. I think definitely Feyenoord against Atletico, I think both teams are going to score in Rotterdam. Goal of Griezmann and a goal of Santiago Gimenez. Don't be surprised if that happens. But I'm going to say Feyenoord doesn't lose, and I'm going to go Lazio beating Celtic. Mauricio Sarri, ball in the Champions League.
Well, I am going to have to agree with you, except for that whole Lazio thing. I think Celtic is so far gone. I mean, if you saw Lazio this past weekend, I'm not entirely sure what happened to versus Salernitana, but they lost to Salernitana. And I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but it is not great there. But I think you're right. I think Feyenoord and Atleti will share points. I think Feyenoord actually has a shot to beat them with how good Santiago Gimenez has been, obviously, in the Eredivisie. He's got his first 2 goals against Lazio in the Champions League. And Calvin Stengs is coming off a hat trick for the Dutch national team, which puts the cherry on top of a really, really, really long winded, injury-prone period of time where he's playing his best football. So I'm going to say, long-winded way of saying Feyenoord will make its way near the top, but Atleti will still beat and win the group. But I'm going to say Celtic at least gets a point in Rome. And because Celtic needs a point in Rome. Celtic has been, I don't think there's any way of sugarcoating this, Alex. Celtic has been horrendous in the Champions League the last 2 seasons. Absolutely horrendous. And with some of, they've got really interesting talent on their team. You would expect them to at least punch a little bit above their weight and score a point here, or change their tactics to score a point here or there to make it less abysmal than what they've managed. So it's not me ripping on Celtic as much as, what do Celtic supporters feel? I mean, do you really feel that outmatched against UCL supporters or UCL clubs?
I think so. I think Scottish League is very unmatched right now. I think in the past, technically, technology, football hadn't advanced in the stage that like a team like Newcastle, a team like Union Berlin would be so fast in the Champions League. If you see their progression, you didn't have teams that were so well developed in such a short period of time. Celtic was an established team. They were a top team with Eric Larsson in the past. Like, it wasn't so far ago. So I think that with time, Celtic has been suffering with the progress of football in other leagues and other teams too.
But
But
Alex, if Copenhagen can beat Manchester United, right? If let's see who else. If Lens can beat Arsenal, okay, Celtic should be able to at least beat one of these squads. And that goes back to last season as well, because it isn't even really games. Yeah, they've got a draw this season.
I get
but it's really, it's tough to see.
I hope he does good. And yeah, they let go of Jota, and there's still no player that has that like Jota type charisma in that team, in my point of view. I like Abada.
Palma.
I like Rio Atate. I like Palma too, but still, there's still it needs more time. But let's wait and see if they can make it happen. Group of death now, always a difficult one to predict. Group F, we have Milan against Dortmund, and we have PSG against Newcastle. I believe AC Milan will be beating Dortmund with a masterclass of Mike Maignan that is back and crucial, one of the best goalkeepers in the world. And I believe Paris Saint-Germain will be beating a difficult team of Newcastle, even though it's away. Newcastle played tremendous football, a lot of injuries, but Kylian Mbappe must show that he's a Ballon d'Or contender against Newcastle. Milan's going to win, and PSG's going to beat Newcastle in my predictions for Group F.
Yeah. And for those that forgot, Newcastle lost I believe it was 2 away games, right? Previous to that big thumping 4-1 win at home. And yes, this is away again. I think the depleted squad is going to bite them in the butt with this one, and PSG is just too hot right now. Kylian Mbappe in his last 11 games for club and country has 14 goals and 6 assists. So that's 20 goal involvements in his last 11 games. And obviously, respectfully, he led PSG over Monaco 5-2 over the weekend, and I just don't see Newcastle. As much as I'm going to love seeing Lewis Millie on the field again, I just don't see it happening for them, which is going to hurt. But Milan-Dortmund, I think, is going to wind up in a draw because Dortmund, while I don't really like what they're doing right now, they still find a way to get results. And they were down 2-0 in the first 30 minutes against Gladbach over the weekend, and then they scored 4 goals. And got to give some credit where it's due to Jamie Bino Gittins getting on the pitch and having a goal, having an assist, and back healthy again. So it's good to see that, but I think Milan is tough. Christian is back. Magnan is back. Tiani Reinders is running the midfield very capably. So it's great to see. But I think we also need to mention I wouldn't call it the elephant. We'll call it the baby elephant in the room here. A 15-year-old, Alex, a 15-year-old became the youngest to ever debut in Serie A, and that is Francesco Camarda. 15 years old, 8 months, in such a storied, wonderful league. It is and a storied club, I should say that as well. But there was nothing more heartwarming than seeing his family react to that, seeing him take the pitch. And if you don't know his numbers, I don't have them for you right now, but they are good for you because they are Mukoko numbers in that academy, are they not?
Francesco Camarda at 13 had 487 goals and he had 87 games. 483 goals. Elite. Francesco Camarda at 13, 483 goals and 87 games. And 2018, 2019, he scored 172 goals in 31 games. Why did he play? Why did he came on and became the youngest player ever in Serie A? Because he performed in Primavera this season already, and he has scored in the Youth League at 15. Unreal. In more than one game.
And Milan needs a striker.
More than one game. Exactly. Where's Okafor? Embarrassing. Where's Okafor? But Mike Magnan is back. So that is a very big plus. But let us know down below, who is the next youngster like Francesco Camarda that is going to be brewing in a top team? Because we'll be mentioning Under-17 World Cup 2 more forward. But going now with Group G, we have Man City, RB Leipzig, and we have a very important game for Europa League spot between Young Boys and Red Star. Man City is going to win this game. Confident about that. And we're going to see, I think, Young Boys winning at home against Red Star. But it's going to be a 50-50 game between these two teams.
I don't really need to add anything more there. But Young Boys needs to win if they want Europa League, and if they're at home, they got to get it done. Red Star has better form as of late. Young Boys, I think, lost over the weekend to Zurich, the tippy top of the table. And RB Leipzig, they're not going to beat Manchester City by a lot of goals. So if they were to even beat Manchester City, at what cost? So you might as well accept your second place because and go through it, I guess. But Xavi Simons, they lost over the weekend to Wolfsburg. Xavi Simons was still very, very good in that game. I'm going to be more interested to see him against this Manchester City side and whether or not Pep uses this as a moment to rotate. But we'll see.
It's interesting. That is an interesting thing to see. And maybe we'll see, Joel Endala that balled out in the Under-17 World Cup. I'm joking. But that would be a bold thing to see. But wouldn't that be cool? But Luke Geba is going to be introduced in England, and Xavi Simons. So it'll be interesting to see how Xavi Simons plays in English territory. Right
Oscar
there.
Bob, at least. We should see him.
Oscar Bob. Yeah, good show. And maybe Valentin Barco if they get that done. But let's not now. He's still in Boca Juniors. But Group H now, the final group, we have Barca against Porto, and we have Shakhtar Donetsk against Royal Antwerp. I fully expect Porto not to lose against Barca because this Barca team is very poor right now. And if Porto don't lose in Camp Nou. If Porto don't lose at home against Barcelona, that will be a big statement. A Porto team that has Ivan Jaime, a good Spanish player, Evan Nilsson, Taremi, Diogo Costa, Alan Varela. So fingers crossed, and let's wait and see if they manage not to lose. So I'll go Porto not losing, and I'll go Royal Antwerp beating Shakhtar that have an interesting player with Sudakov.
Ooh.
I think Royal Antwerp could do it. I really like Mandela Keita.
I would love for them to do it as well. And Royal Antwerp deserves a win, at least in this particular Champions League. But I'm with you. I'm going to say Porto-Barcelona draw. But the last time Porto went to Barcelona, you may recall this, you may not. You were a young boy back when this happened. This was 2011. And it was the Super Cup. And there were 2 red cards given to Porto. And it was Messi, it was Xavi, it was Iniesta, it was Dani Alves, it was Mascherano versus Hulk. Freddie Guarín, João Moutinho, just
Varela,
some great Otamendi.
Falcão, James. I don't know if they were in that game or maybe they were transferred. But like the Porto team, the Porto iconic team was one of the best teams I've ever seen in my life, personally. Hulk, James Rodrigues, Falcão, Guarín, Moutinho, Maicon. Then you have the fullbacks Danilo and Alexandro, Elton back in the day. Beautiful, mate. I love that you mentioned that.
Well, I had to, and they'll hope that the scoreline ends differently because that was a 2-0 Barcelona win that day, and I believe they had Kleber,
yes,
starting up top on that day, so they might have already transferred a few out. But I just had to go down that memory lane. It was surprising. Obviously, that was at Camp Nou, and this will not be at Camp Nou because it is under renovation. But it is pretty awesome to see that, and that is the wonderful thing about the Champions League, and that is the wonderful thing about Barcelona not always playing, say, Real Madrid or PSG, is that 10 years plus 12 years was the last time Porto played in Barcelona. That's pretty cool stuff, in my opinion. And remember, I think that's a great.
The first game ever of Messi with a Barca jersey was in Porto's new stadium, Estádio do Dragão, when it was first announced. Wow. So they saw the debut of Lionel Messi ever in football playing for Barcelona, the Porto fans. Wow. There's a bit of history between both.
I didn't know the Dragão was that young.
Yeah, the Dragão was built towards the Euros because the Euros was such a big thing. We got so many stadiums, but we're going to have the World Cup in 2030. So I'm happy that that's all going to be used for the right functions. But let us know down below your game week predictions. What have you missed? What predictions were we extremely wrong? But tell us the ones we were right to. We want to see some love down below in the comment section. And don't forget to like this video. Before we get to the Under-17 World Cup, we want to mention not teams and players that deserve to be mentioned here at FC Wonderkid. And I'm going to start here with Bayern Leverkusen. That is a consistent mention in the FC Wonderkid podcast. Right now, Bayern Leverkusen have the best start ever in Bundesliga history has been done by Bayern Leverkusen with Xabi Alonso. 12 wins, 1 draw, and that draw was against Bayern Munich. 62 goals scored, 14 suffered, and the improvement of Wirtz, Frimpong, signing Xhaka, Hoffman. This team is absolutely elite, and a heat check like we do weekly with PSV. This is a heat check with Bayern Leverkusen fullbacks right now. The Jeremy Frimpong has 17 goals scored, 6 goals, 7 assists. Grimaldo, 18 games, 9 goals, 6 assists. And Grimaldo is the defender with most goals scored in all the top 5 leagues. Grimaldo.
That's bonkers. The combined cost there, I believe, was a little over 10 million euros. So, wow. That's good business. And they're top of the Bundesliga, as you already mentioned. They're also top of their Europa League group. And they're doing it in style. I mean, 37 goals in 12 Bundesliga games is just pretty amazing considering you're going up against Bayern Munich, who that's like normal for them to do that with Harry Kane. But I'm going to say it, every Xabi Alonso win puts him a step closer to him leaving. And I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss it because I'd rather see a new power rise than see the vacuum of super clubs take all the best young coaches. So I would love to see another Xabi Alonso season or two, see what he can do the rest of the season. So I hope I'm wrong about the fact that every Xabi Alonso win at Bayer Leverkusen leads him one step closer to the Bernabeu.
Winning 3-0 away from home, and it's just like he's solidified the defense. And the thing here about Xabi Alonso is when he started at Leverkusen, they were 17th. And now, tactically wise, they play so simple, yet so beautifully. It's absolutely unreal to see. And Xabi Alonso was coached by Mourinho, was coached by Ancelotti and was coached by Pep Guardiola. That was a key reason towards his IQ that he has, elite. And just like Zidane at Real Madrid, Xavi Alonso was once a Galactico and can go into a training session and also play with the Galactico players. That is an elite statement, and not a lot of people could do just that. So let's wait and see what's going to happen in the future. So, do you have anything you really want to mention before we go to the World Cup, Breton?
Yeah, I mean, really quickly, we have to mention another Wonderkid manager, right? And we mentioned him last week, but it continues once again. Nice in Ligue wins again 1-0. They get the goal from Teramafi. Remember we were saying he's kind of like the key to this whole thing. If Teramafi can score consistently, they could keep this running because he's got the defense. Farioli, he's got the defense solidified, at least for Ligue 1. They still have only conceded 4 goals. Now in 13 games unbeaten to start the Ligue 1 season. This is his first season in France. And for those that don't know, the 34-year-old is Italian. He spent multiple seasons in Turkey. But before that, he was under the tutelage of a certain Roberto De Zerbi. So my guess is you are going to be seeing Francesco Farioli's name more and more and more as De Zerbi starts to get linked either out of Brighton or maybe as a heir apparent to De Zerbi at Brighton. So it's really, really pretty amazing. Obviously, PSG's hard to keep up with, but 8 wins, 5 draws in Ligue 1. They have not lost yet in 13 games. So remember the name Francesco Farioli, and they're doing that without Youssef Attel. I don't want to talk about why he's out. They did that without Todibo over the weekend, who is out with injury. So really, really impressive stuff going on at Ligue 1.
But
and we always like to root for a team.
They got Marcel Boca, that is the top in clean sheets in the top 5 leagues. They got a Dante, an experienced player, Lex the Todibo going bold. Melvin Bard.
That's awesome.
What a player.
Yeah.
Like Ligue 1 Wonderkid, succeeding now at Nice. So Francesco Farioli, keep cooking.
Remember the name.
And like you're saying with Francesco Farioli, my last shout before we go to World Cup is Jorel Hatu. If you don't know this left-footed center back, he's one of the best under-18 talents in the world because he's captain Ajax, a different Ajax from when they start him now, and a Dutch national team selection now. So Jorel Hatu has captain Ajax, and he was selected for the Dutch national team at 17, a left center back. Elite player. Confident passing the ball. Very good understanding of the game already. Fantastic physique for a 17-year-old. So you might as well remember the name. And he's the 5th youngest player ever to play for the Dutch national team. Ajax have a new elite center back with Jorel Hatu. I love it.
I love it. And I love it too. But before we get to U17 World Cup, I got to just throw 2 little factoids at you because we missed this in the Premier League. But Brighton's Evan Ferguson, 19 years old, scored obviously a well-taken goal over the weekend. His finishing is phenomenal for still being a teenager. But it is his 6th Premier League goal of the season, already matching last season's total. And he is now level with a certain Wayne Rooney for most Premier League goals by a teenager in a calendar year with 11. And that is impressive. And he's also already starting and playing relatively well for an Ireland team that is going to continue to need a refresh for years and years to come. But pretty amazing stuff. Now, the other stat I have to throw at you is with Bournemouth heating up, Justin Kluivert, right? We all know the name. We all know the name because of the exact. And I said Kluivert. I meant Kluivert. I'm sorry. But with his goal versus Sheffield United over the weekend, he becomes only the second player in this century, in the 21st century, to score in the top 5 or top 6 Euro leagues, whichever way you want to put it, because he qualifies for both. He scored in the Premier League with Bournemouth. He scored in Serie A with AS Roma. He has scored in Ligue 1 with Nice. He scored in La Liga with Valencia and in the Bundesliga on loan at RB Leipzig. And if you want to throw in there that Ligue 1 is not the 5th best, you can say Ajax in the Eredivisie as well. And he's only the second player to do this. I'm going to ask you, Do you know? And I'm not going to tell you the answer. I want to see it in the comment section.
It's not Ibra.
Do you know
Not Ibra.
who it is?
Not Ibra.
It's not. No.
No, I don't. Jovetic.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Well done, sir. Yes, you're right. I was going to say I wasn't going to give the answer, but that was very well done. I'm kind of shocked on the second that you got it. That's phenomenal.
It's not a lot of players that like did so many. Like I was just finding it tough to get the Premier League.
It's pretty amazing. But I'm going to say I know we all wish Justin Kluivert's career has maybe gone differently in terms of honors and accolades and whatnot. But at least his passport has been incredibly active. I mean, to score in six major leagues, that's pretty impressive.
No, and he was an extreme. Like, remembering the Ajax Man United final, Mourinho went up to him and was like, look, you want to come to United? Like, you're legit an extremely good talent. So he was in a good place at one time, but it's just like, and every youngster, ups and downs, tough career. It's more than football. They're people too. So a lot happened in Justin Kluivert's life that made him maybe not have the best decisions. But let us know down below about Kluivert's life if you know what happened or anything else that we have mentioned that you want us to talk about more or just go bold about certain topics. And now, Under-17 World Cup. It's been phenomenal to watch. We have so many surprises, but the final, as it seems, will be France. No. The two semifinals is France against Mali, and there's an Argentina against Germany. But we've got stars on the 4 teams, haven't we, Breton?
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. Where do you want to start?
Well,
Argentina?
I think Argentina, well, for Brazilian fans, that was one of the worst weeks of football. Losing to Argentina after losing to Uruguay and Colombia, now losing to Argentina the way they did. And then in the Under-17 World Cup, 3-0. They lose with a hat-trick at Claudio Echeverri that has a 25 million release clause. And every top team in Europe wants to sign him for sure. After Enzo Fernandez, after Julian Alvarez, we have now Claudio Echeverri that is balling out in the Under-17 World Cup. And you must remember the forward's name. What a player.
Yeah, and it was a 3-zip crushing of the Brazilian U17s that were really just starting to get things under and rolling. But between the river duo of El Diablito, which is Claudio Echeverri, and Agustin Roberto, scoring, I mean, they are now both co-Golden Boot leaders with 5 goals each. So they are absolutely killing it. And I'm just going to add one more thing to that Echeverri transfer saga that hasn't started yet, but will start in the very near future, I'm sure. Not only is there a release clause, but his contract is up next December. So that decision is going to need to be made relatively soon. And, you know, I would love to see him go to MLS first, but we'll see. Maybe Messi's about to give him a call.
Maybe Real Madrid, they have Nico Paz there. Why not get Echeverri when you have Real Madrid always signing all the Brazilian youngsters with Hendrik, Rodrigo, Vini? Why not go for the Argentinians? You already have Nico Paz with Echeverri going there too. But there's another player that, well, if we're going to talk, Echeverri is definitely one of the contenders to win the Golden Boy of the Under-17 World Cup. The other player, in my view, is Ibrahim Diarra, that is locked in to go to Barca when he turns 17. When he turns 18. Ibrahim Diarra, 5 games, 3 goals, 3 assists, and no doubt he's in the team of the tournament already. Mali are contenders to win the Under-17 World Cup because they have Ibrahim Diarra. That is a player you must remember, okay? Unreal. Amara Diouf for Senegal was elite, and he was the start, like the first player to be mentioned, African player to be mentioned big time with the Under-17 World Cup. But at the end, we're all going to be chanting Ibrahima Diarra. But that was an elite player too, Amara Diouf at 15.
Absolutely, and there are other players on that Mali team, but I'm going to say it. I'm pulling for Mali versus France. I am pulling for Mali versus France. France, we can talk about them in a second, but obviously they are under investigation about a player that had already played for another country during the qualifying process, but they're not going to get kicked out of the tournament. But I would love to see this Mali side make its way to the final to play, I'm going to guess, Argentina. But Ibrahima has been phenomenal and my best pick or my best player of the tournament. I think he is the leader for Golden Ball. It really does depend on who wins the dang thing, right? Because if Argentina wins, it's Echeverri or Roberto, depending on who has the biggest game.
I think Echeverri still will get it, even though Agustin Roberto has scored in every game in the Under-17 World Cup, but the Brazil game that had a hat-trick of Claudio Echeverri. So Agustin Roberto is another elite talent, I agree. I think Mali will be beating France because this Mali team has such a good midfield, okay? And I think, wait, this is a tough game, but Argentina, Germany, please know the day and lock it in and watch the game. Or if you don't watch it live, watch it afterwards because we'll have Paris Brunner and Noah Darvish versus Claudio Echeverri and Agustin Roberto that are elite talents in the Under-17 World Cup. But I still believe Germany will be winning because they beat Spain.
Really?
And undramatically, it wasn't the best game by Spain, but they still beat them with efficiency. Yeah. Paris Brunner knew what to do, and Noah Darvish didn't have the best game, but still was involved in a bit of the pieces. So I'm going to go with Germany.
Okay, yeah, they do have a stout defense. I don't have his name written down, but the center back for Wolfsburg, he's been phenomenal all tournament, and I should have his name down when I'm mentioning a defender. And the funny thing is the one defender I wanted to give a real shout out to for having a very good tournament, he's Spanish, and he's already out of the tournament, and that's Pau Cabarsi. I thought Pau Cabarsi was phenomenal all tournament, didn't get that much love because Hector Fort has been so good for Spain. But a lot of these guys, we mentioned Noah Darvish. That's
the Wolfsburg center back.
That's right. That is exactly who it is. It is. So, yeah, Germany has a wonderful defense. Argentina has a high-powered offense. That's going to be a really, really good game to watch. But I'm going to flip the script, and I'm going to say it's going to be Argentina-Mali in the final. And I'm going to say it. I'm going to say Mali's going to win.
Mali wins it all. I would love to be that to be the case because Mali deserve it. They were it's always unsung heroes. Heroes. I was believing that Spain would do it, and I still want to mention for the people that are listening at home, remember Pau Prim, CDM of Spain. Remember Hector Fort, great fullback. Remember Marc Guéhi that scored in his debut for Barca 23 seconds in. And remember a player like King Juanayat. I don't know if I said it right. I must have butchered it. But the Barca youth was very involved in the Under-17 World Cup, and they will be involved for the first team in the future too, with Noah Darvish in that German team. So yeah, I think that Germany will be winning it. Wow. It's a bold shout, but Germany against Mali, I think the German youth will be taking it. I could be wrong. Okay. But let us know down below your choices. Wonderkids that we should have mentioned in this video. Let us know, and don't forget to like this video. Last topic here in the podcast. The last dance is going to happen in February. It's locked in 2024 February. We're going to see Cristiano Ronaldo against Lionel Messi, Inter Miami, Al-Nassr. And I'm going to start by saying Al-Nassr, I'm very confident to say, if Al-Nassr doesn't have any injuries, they'll be beating Inter Miami confidently, Breton. Very confidently. Al-Nassr is unbeaten in their last 19 games. Cristiano Ronaldo has scored 38 goals this calendar year. Inter Miami has no defense to match an Al-Nassr team 100%, Breton.
Well, they've got Al Hilal coming up in early December, so let's slow the roll on Al-Nassr at this point.
20.
And we also need to remember that there are 3 months until then, and Inter Miami, this is the offseason for Major League Soccer. Inter Miami will be recruiting heavily. They will have an extra designated player spot because there are roster rules, there are financial rules in the U.S., and that's not a dig on the Saudi Professional League. That is simply the labyrinthine, ridiculous rules of Major League Soccer to make sure we don't have a league go under financially. But I think you're going to see Luis Suarez come before then, and you're going to see a couple names that you will be salivating about to go with the young bucks that they signed around Jordi Alba and Busquets and obviously Messi. But you'll also see Fagunda Farias still there. You'll see Tomas Aviles. You'll see Diego Gomez actually in there over an actual preseason. So it's going to be interesting. It'll be preseason Messi or early season Messi and Inter Miami versus an Al-Nassr that I guess will be winding down their season
full force
at that point.
Full force Al-Nassr.
In Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
Exactly.
So,
and since we're mentioning Inter Miami, Al-Nassr, Ronaldo, Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo dominated their era in Europe. And since 2008, only one player, Luka Modric, won the Ballon d'Or. 13 Ballon d'Ors were won between them both, and 10 Champions Leagues were won. Everybody will be having to watch this game in Riyadh, and it's going to be very exciting to watch. And right now in the Saudi Pro League, Al-Nassr has Ronaldo with 15 goals scored. They have Talisca with 8 goals scored, and Sadio Mane with 6 goals scored. So they can score from many points of view. And Seko Fofana, Brozovic. Look, I think the team will be
Otavio.
Otavio. Oh, Otavio's such a good player too. Selected from Portugal and always balling out. But I would be I'm going to be very interested to see the lineup that you will be having. Will Luis Suarez will he be in January in Inter Miami?
I think so. I think so. I mean, there's going to have to be some financial creativity, I think, to get that done with his contract with Gremio. But I'm pretty sure they waited 4 years to get Messi. I'm pretty sure they'll get Suarez if they want him.
And two,
early.
Bretson, have you seen those goals? Ronaldo has 48 goals scored, but in those 48, those goals are absolutely unreal. Ronaldo would still perform in the Premier League, in La Liga, because if you see the quality and the difficulty of some of those goals that he's scoring, it makes it worth it to go and watch live Cristiano Ronaldo play. He is the attraction. He's the charisma. And he's performing nonstop. Unreal.
I mean, that last goal was very nice. I will give you that. That's for sure. But no, it's just a shame that we won't see him in the Premier League or wherever.
He could go on loan. He could go on loan, but I don't know. Let's wait and see what happens with Cristiano Ronaldo, because I have got a prediction that Cristiano Ronaldo will one day own a team in Europe, and he'll play for that team maybe.
Portuguese team?
He'll faster own a team than manage a team and play in it.
Okay.
Could be Portuguese. I don't know, because he's got the bucks to buy a team in Italy, buy a team in England even, and buy a team obviously in Portugal. Sporting, that would be
what is it? Nacional Madeira? Should he buy that one?
They're in the second division, and if they had investment from him, Nacional Madeira Island would be an attractive place to go. Back. That would be so good. So good. And he's already have a Cristiano hotel there, just like he has in the center of Lisbon, too. He's not sponsoring us. Ronaldo.
I know you're playing Football Manager pretty big right now, Alex. I think that's what you should do. You should give yourself a sugar daddy named Cristiano Ronaldo. He injects $100 million into Nacional's bank account, and you make it a, prime place to play.
How
cool would that be?
No joke, Bretton. The director of football of Estoril just got snatched by Olympiacos. So let the hard work one day speak for itself. I'm not going to say my age, but let's wait and see what's going to happen in the near future. But people, let us know down below. What have we missed of the Inter Miami against Al-Nassr? Who do you believe will win this game? And even, do you believe Ronaldo will be the all-time goal scorer of this calendar year? He's got 48 goals scored, the same as Erling Haaland and Harry Kane right now. If you're listening until now, thank you for going bold with another podcast, episode 133. And as I said at the start and midway, don't forget to comment and like this podcast. Thank you so much for listening until now, and thank you for going bold another week with us.